Hi, my name is Alana Blair. I'm Los Angeles based, 5'7", SAG-AFTRA, and I'm reading for the role of the Traitor. Okay, thank you very much. Hello, Brad and Ryan and everybody. We appreciate the time and the call. So we've spent a lot of time on this, and if we could just go over some of the numbers, I think it's pretty clear that we won. We won very substantially in Georgia. You even see it by rally size, frankly. We'd be getting 25 to 30,000 people a rally, and the competition would get less than 100 people. And it never made sense, but we have a number of things. We have at least 2 or 3, anywhere from 250 to 300,000 ballots were dropped mysteriously into the rolls. Much of that had to do with Fulton County, which hadn't been checked. We think that if you check the signatures, a real check of the signatures going back in Fulton County, you'll find at least a couple of 100,000 of forged signatures of people who have been forged. And we are quite sure that's going to happen. Another tremendous number. We're going to have an accurate number over the next 2 days with certified accountants. But an accurate number, but it's in the 50s of thousands. And that's people who went to vote and they were told they can't vote because they've already been voted for, and it's a very sad thing. They walked out complaining, but the number's large. We'll have it for you, but it's much more than the number of 11,779. That's the current margin is only 11,779. Brad, I think you agree with that, right? That's something I think everyone, at least I think that's a number that everyone agrees on. But that's the difference in the votes. But we've had hundreds and thousands of ballots that were able to actually, we'll get you a pretty accurate number. You don't need much of a number because the number that in theory I lost by the margin would be 11,779. But you also have a substantial numbers of people, thousands and thousands who went to the voting place on November 3rd, were told they couldn't vote, were told they couldn't vote because a ballot had been put in their name. And you know that's very, 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 very sad. We had, I believe it's about 4,502 voters who voted, but who weren't on the voter registration list. So it's 4,502 who voted, but they weren't on the voter registration roll, which they had to be. You had 18,325 vacant address voters. The address was vacant, and they're not allowed to be counted. That's 8,325. Smaller number. You had 904 who only voted when they had just a PO, a post office box number, and they had a post office box number, and that's not allowed. We had at least 18,000. That's on tape. We had them counted very painstakingly. 18,000 voters having to do with, she's a vote scammer, a professional vote scammer, and a hustler. That was the tape that's been shown all over the world that makes everybody look bad, you, me, and everybody else. Where they got, number one, they said very clearly, and it's been reported, they said there was a major water main break. Everybody fled the area. And then they came back, and her daughter and a few people. There were no Republican poll watchers. Actually, there were no Democrat poll watchers. I guess they were them, but there were no Democrats either, and there were no law enforcement. Late in the morning, they went early in the morning, and they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out the votes. These votes were put there a number of hours before the table was put there. I think it was, Brad, you would know, it was probably 8 hours or 7 hours before, and then it was stuffed with votes. They weren't in an official voter box, but they were in what looked to be suitcases or trunk suitcases, but they weren't in voter boxes. The minimum number it could be, because we watched it and they watched it certified in slow motion, instant replay, if you can believe it, but slow motion, and it was magnified many times over, and the minimum, it was 18,000 ballots, all for Biden. You had out-of-state voters. They voted in Georgia, but they were from out of state, of 4,925. You had absentee voters, absentee ballots sent to vacant. They were absentee ballots sent to vacant addresses. They had nothing on them about addresses. That's 2,326. And you had drop boxes, which is very bad. You had drop boxes that were picked up. We have photographs and we have affidavits from many people. I don't know if you saw the hearings, but you have drop boxes where the box was picked up but not delivered for 3 days. So all sorts of things could have happened to that box, including, putting in the votes that you wanted. So there were many infractions, and the bottom line is many, many times the 11,779 margin that they said we lost by, we had the state is in turmoil over this. And I know you would like to get to the bottom of it, although I saw you on television today and you said that you had found nothing wrong. I mean, and I didn't lose the state, Brad. People have been saying it was the highest vote ever. There was no way. A lot of the political people said there's no way they beat me. And they beat me. They beat me in as you know, every single state. We won every state. We won every state house in the country. We held the Senate, which is shocking to people, although we'll see what happens tomorrow or in a few days. And we won the House, but we won every single state house, and we won Congress, which was supposed to lose 15 seats, and they gained, I think, 16 or 17 or something. I think there's now a difference of 5. There was supposed to be a difference substantially more, but politicians in every state, but politicians in Georgia have given affidavits or are going to that there was no way they beat me in the election, that the people came out. In fact, they were expecting to lose, and then they ended up winning by a lot because of the coattails. And they say there's no way that they've done many polls prior to the election. There was no way that they won. Ballots were dropped in massive numbers. And we're trying to get to those numbers, and we will have them. They'll take a period of time, certified, but they're massive numbers and far greater than the 11,779. The other thing, dead people. So dead people voted, and I think the number is close to 5,000 people, and they went to obituaries. They went to all sorts of methods to come up with an accurate number, and the minimum is close to about 5,000 voters. The bottom line is that when you add it all up, and then you start adding, 300,000 fake ballots, and then the other thing they said in Fulton County and in other areas, and this may or may not, because this just came up this morning, and they are burning their ballots, that they are shredding ballots and removing equipment. They're changing the equipment on the Dominion machines, and that's not legal. And they supposedly shredded, I think they said 300 pounds of 3,000 pounds of ballots, and that just came to us as a report today, and it is a very sad situation. But Brad, if you took the minimum numbers, where many times above the 11,779, and many of those numbers are certified, or they will be certified, but they are certified, and those are numbers that are there, that exist, and that beat the margin of loss. They beat it, by a lot, and people should be happy to have an accurate count instead of an election where there's turmoil. There's turmoil in Georgia and other places. You are not the only one. We have other states that I believe will be flipping to us very shortly. And this is something that, as an example, I think in Detroit, I think there's a good section of your state actually, which we're not so sure, so we're not going to report it yet. But in Detroit, we had, I think it was 139% of people voted. That's not too good. In Pennsylvania, they had well over 200,000 more votes than they had people voting, and that doesn't play too well in the legislature there, which is Republican, is extremely activist and angry. There were other things also that were almost as bad as that, but they had an example in Michigan, a tremendous number of dead people that voted. I think Mark, it was 18,000, some unbelievably high number, much higher than yours. You were in the 4,000 to 5,000 category. And that was checked out laboriously by going through the obituary columns in the newspapers. So I guess with all of it being said, Brad, the bottom line and provisional ballots, again, you'll have to tell me about the provisional ballots, but we have a lot of people that were complaining that they weren't able to vote because they were already voted for. These are great people. And, they were shell-shocked. I don't know if you call that provisional ballots. In some states, we have a lot of provisional ballot situations where people were given a provisional ballot because when they walked in on November 3rd and they were already voted for. So that's it. We have many times the number of votes necessary to win the state. And we won the state, and we won it very substantially and easily. And we have, much of this is a very, they're certified, far more certified than we need, but we're getting additional numbers certified too, and we're getting pictures of drop boxes being delivered and delivered late, delivered 3 days later in some cases, plus we have many affidavits to that effect. Oh, yeah? Well, Brad, not that there's not an issue, because we have a big issue with Dominion in other states and perhaps in yours, but we haven't felt we needed to go there. And just to, maybe put a little different spin on what Mark is saying, Mark Meadows, we'd like to go further, but we don't really need to. We have all the votes we need. We won the state. If you took, these are the most minimal numbers, the numbers that I gave you, those are the numbers that are certified, your absentee ballots sent to vacant addresses, your out-of-state voters, 4,925. When you add them up, it's many, more times. It's many times the 11,779 number. So we could go through. We have not done through your Dominion. So we can't give them blessing. I mean, in other states, we think we have found tremendous corruption with Dominion machines, but we'll have to see. But we only lost the state by that number, 11,000 votes and 779. So with that being said, with just what we have, we're giving you minimal numbers. We're doing the most conservative numbers possible. We're many times above the margin. And so we don't really have to, Mark. I don't think we have to go through.
Right.
Because what's the difference between winning the election by 2 votes and winning it by 500,000 votes? I think I probably did win it by 500,000. You know, one of the things that happened, Brad, is that we have other people coming in now from Alabama and from South Carolina and from other states, and they're saying it's impossible for you to have lost Georgia. We won. You know, in Alabama, we set a record, got the highest vote ever. In Georgia, we set a record with a massive amount of votes. And they say it's not possible to have lost Georgia. And I can tell you by our rallies. I can tell you by the rally I'm having Monday night, the place, they already have lines of people standing out front waiting. It's just not possible to have lost Georgia. It's not possible. When I heard it was close, I said there's no way. But they dropped a lot of votes in there late at night. You know that, Brad. And that's why we are working on very stringently. But regardless of those votes, with all of it being said, we lost by essentially 11,000 votes, and that we have many more votes already calculated and certified too. And so I just don't know. You know, Mark, I don't know what's the purpose. I won't give Dominion a pass because we found too many bad things, but we don't need Dominion or anything else. We have won this election in Georgia based on all this. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, Brad. You know, I mean, having the people of Georgia are angry, and these numbers are going to be repeated on Monday night, along with others that we are going to have by that time, which are much more substantial even. And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry, and there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, that you've recalculated. Because the 2,236 in absentee ballots, I mean, they're all exact numbers that were done by accounting law firms, etc. And even if you cut them in half and cut them in half again, it's more votes than we need. But Cleta, even before you do that, and we're not even including that, that's why hardly even including that number, although in one state we have a tremendous amount of dead people. So I don't know. I'm sure we do in Georgia too. But we're so far ahead. We're so far ahead of these numbers. Even the phony ballots of known scammer. You know the internet? You know what was trending on the internet? Because they thought she'd be in jail. It's crazy. It's crazy. That was the minimum number is 18,000 for, but they think it's probably about 56,000. But the minimum number is 18,000 on the night when she ran back in there when everybody was gone and she stuffed the ballot boxes. Let's face it, Brad. I mean, they did it in slow motion replay, magnified, right? She stuffed the ballot boxes. They were stuffed like nobody had ever seen them stuffed before. So there's a term for it when it's a machine instead of a ballot box, but she stuffed the machine. She stuffed the ballot. Each ballot went 3 times. They were showing, here's ballot number 1, here it is second time, third time, next ballot. I mean, look, Brad, we have a new tape that we're going to release. It's devastating. And by the way, that one event is much more than the 11,000 votes that we're talking about. It's that one event was a disaster. And it's just, but it was something. It can't be disputed. And again, we have a version that you haven't seen, but it's magnified. It's magnified and you can see everything. For some reason, they put it in 3 times each ballot, and I don't know why. 3 times. Why not 5 times, right? Go ahead. But where were the poll watchers, Brad? There were no poll watchers there. There were no Democrats or Republicans. There was no security there. It was late in the evening, early in the morning, and there was nobody else in the room. What were the poll watchers, and why did they say a water main broke? Which they did, and which was reported in the newspapers. They said they left. They ran out because of a water main break, and there was no water main. There was nothing. There was no break. There was no water main break. But if you take out everything, where were the Republican poll watchers? Even where were the Democrat poll watchers? Because there were none. And then you say, well, they left their station. If you look at the tape, and this was reviewed by professional police and detectives and other people. When they left in a rush, everybody left in a rush because of the water main, but everybody left in a rush. These people left their station. When they came back, they didn't go to their station. They went to the apron, wrapped around the table, under which were thousands and thousands of ballots in a box that was not an official or a sealed box. And then they took those. They went back to a different station. So if they would have come back, they would have walked to their station and they would have continued to work, but they couldn't do even that because it's illegal, because they had no Republican poll watchers. And remember, her reputation is she's known all over the internet, Brad. She's known all over. I'm telling you, where's was one of the hot items. They knew her. Where's So Brad, there can be no justification for that. And I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But that was, and Brad, why did they put the votes in 3 times? They put them in 3 times. Here, Billy,
Yo.
You have 1 line.
What is it?
So I don't think they're cleaning is what is your line to you interject right here.
All right.
Got it?
All right.
No.
Wait, make sure I'm not on camera. Okay, good.
You're not on camera. I don't know. It doesn't pass the smell test because we hear they're shredding thousands and thousands of ballots, and now what they're saying, oh, we're just cleaning up the office. So I don't think they're cleaning.
Mr. President, the problem you have with social media, people can say anything.
Oh, this isn't social media. This is Trump media. It's not social media. It's really not. It's not social media. I don't care about social media. I couldn't care less. Social media is big tech. Big tech is on your side. I don't even know why you have a side, because you should want to have an accurate election, and you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have. Not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes. And just on the small numbers, you're off on these numbers, and these numbers can't be just, well, why won't? Okay, so you sent us into Cobb County for signature verification, right? You sent us into Cobb County for signature verification, right? You sent us into Cobb County, which we didn't want to go into. And you said it would be open to the public, and we could have so we had our experts there that weren't allowed in the room, but we didn't want Cobb County. We wanted Fulton County, and you wouldn't give it to us. Now, why aren't we doing signature, and why can't it be open to the public? And why can't we have professionals do it instead of rank amateurs who will never find anything and don't want to find anything? They don't want to find, they don't want to find anything. Someday you'll tell me the reason why, because I don't understand your reasoning, but someday you'll tell me the reason why. But why don't you want to find?
Mr. President, we chose...
Why don't you want to find? What?
Sorry, go
So
go ahead.
Why did you do Cobb County? We didn't even request. We requested Fulton County, not Cobb County. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
No, we chose Cobb County because that was the only county where there's been any evidence submitted. The signature verification was not properly
No,
done.
but I told you we're not saying that.
We did say that.
Fulton County, look, Stacy, in my opinion, Stacy is as dishonest as they come. She has outplayed you at everything. She got you to sign a totally unconstitutional agreement, which is a disastrous agreement. You can't check signatures. I can't imagine you're allowed to do harvesting, I guess, in that agreement. That agreement is a disaster for this country. But she's got you somehow to sign that thing, and she has outsmarted you at every step. And I hate to imagine what's going to happen on Monday or Tuesday, but it's very scary to people. Where the ballots flow in out of nowhere, it's very scary to people. That constant decree is a disaster. It's a disaster. A very good lawyer who examined it said they've never seen anything like it.
Harvesting is still legal in the state of Georgia, and that settlement agreement did not change that one iota.
It's not a settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It even says consent decree on it, doesn't it? It uses the term consent decree. It doesn't say settlement agree. It's a consent decree. It's a disaster.
It's a settlement agreement.
What's written on top of it?
I don't have it in front of me, but it was not entered by the court. It was not a court order.
But Ryan, it's called a consent decree. Is that right? On the paper, is that right?
I don't believe so, but I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, whatever. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Look, here's the problem. We can go through signature verification and we'll find hundreds of thousands of signatures if you let us do it. And the only way you can do it, as you know, is to go to the past. But you didn't do that in Cobb County. You just looked at one page compared to another. The only way you can do a signature verification is to go from the one that signed it on November, whatever, recently, and compare it to 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, or even one, and you'll find that you have many different signatures. But in Fulton, where they dumped ballots, you will find that you have many that aren't even signed, and you'll have many that are forgeries. Okay, you know that. You know that. You have no doubt about that. And you will find you will be at 11,779 within minutes, because Fulton County is totally corrupt, and so is she, totally corrupt. And they're going around playing you, and laughing at you behind your back, Brad. Whether you know it or not, they're laughing at you, and you've taken a state that's a Republican state, and you've made it almost impossible for a Republican to win because of cheating. Because they cheated like nobody's ever cheated before. And I don't care how long it takes me, we're going to have other states coming forward. Pretty good. But I won't. We have some incredible talent, said they've never seen anything. Now the problem is they need more time for the big numbers, but they're very substantial numbers. But I think you're going to find that by the way, a little information, I think you're going to find that they are shredding ballots because they have to get rid of the ballots because the ballots are unsigned. The ballots are corrupt and they're brand new and they don't have a seal, and there's a whole thing with the ballots, but the ballots are corrupt. And you're going to find that they are, which is totally illegal. It is more illegal for you than it is for them because you know what they did and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal. That's a criminal offense. And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer, and that's a big risk. But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, and they are removing machinery and they're moving it as fast as they can, both of which are criminal fines. And you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. I'm notifying you that you are letting it happen. So look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have because we won the state. And flipping the state is a great testament to our country because, as you know, it's a testament that they can admit to a mistake or whatever you want to call it. If it was a mistake, I don't know. A lot of people think it wasn't a mistake. It was much more criminal than that, but it's a big problem in Georgia and it's not a problem that's going away. It's not a problem that's going away. Well, you better check the ballots because they are shredding ballots, Ryan. I'm just telling you, Ryan, they're shredding ballots, and you should look at this very carefully because that's so illegal. You may not even believe it because it's so bad, but they're shredding ballots because they think we'll eventually get into Fulton. In my opinion, it's never too late. So that's the story. Look, we need only 11,000 votes. We are far more than it stands now. We'll have more and more. And do you have provisional ballots at all, Brad? Provisional ballots? Because most of them are made up to the name Trump, because these are people that were scammed when they came in. And we have thousands of people that have testified or that want to testify. When they came in, they were probably going to vote on November 3rd. And when they were told, I'm sorry, you've already been voted for, you've already voted. The men started screaming, no, I proudly voted till November 3rd. They said, I'm sorry, but you've already been voted for and you have a ballot. And these people are besides themselves. So they went out and they filed in a provisional ballot, put the name Trump on it. And what about that batch of military ballots that came in? And even though I won the military by a lot, it was 100% Trump. 100% Biden. Do you know that? A large group of ballots came in. I think it was to Fulton County, and they just happened to be 100% for Trump, for Biden, even though Trump won the military a lot, a tremendous amount. But these ballots were 100% for Biden. And do you know about that? A very substantial number came in, all for Biden. Does anybody know about that? Okay, Cleta, I'm not asking you, Cleta, honestly. I'm asking Brad. Do you know about the military ballots that we have confirmed now? Do you know about the military ballots that came in that were 100%? 100% for Biden. Do you know about that? Oh no, but that's okay. But I get like 78% in the military. These ballots were all for, they didn't tell me overseas, could be overseas too, but I get votes overseas too, Ryan, in all fairness. No, they came in, a large batch came in, and it was, quote, 100% for Biden, and that is criminal. That's criminal. Okay, that's another criminal. That's another of the many criminal events here. Okay. I don't know. Look, Brad, I have to find 12,000 votes, and I have them times a lot, and therefore I won the state. That's before we go to the next step, which is the process of right now, and I have watched you this morning and you said, oh, well, there was no criminality. But all this stuff is very dangerous stuff. When you talk about no criminality, I think it's very dangerous for you to say that. I just don't know why you don't want to have the votes counted as they are. Like even you, when you went and did that check, and I was surprised because, the check And we found a few thousand votes that were against me. I was actually surprised because the way the check was done, all you're doing is, recertifying existing votes and you were given votes and you just counted them up and you still found 3,000 that were bad. So that was sort of surprising that it came down to 3 or 5. I don't know, still a lot of votes, but you have to go back to check from past years with respect to signatures. And if you check with Fulton County, you'll have hundreds of thousands because they dump ballots into Fulton County and the other county next to it. So what are we going to do here, folks? I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. We have that in spades already. Or we can keep it going, but that's not fair to the voters of Georgia because they're going to see what happened. They're going to see what happened. I mean, I'll take on anybody you want with regard to and her lovely daughter, a very lovely young lady, I'm sure, but I will take on anybody you want. And the minimum, there were 18,000 ballots, but they used them 3 times. So that's, a lot of votes and that one event. And they were all to Biden, by the way. That's the other thing we didn't say. The one thing I forgot to say, which was the most important, that every single ballot she did went to Biden. You know that, right? Did you know that, by the way, Brad? Here, read this part. Every single ballot that she did through the machines at early in the morning went to Biden. Did you know that, Ryan?
That's not accurate, Mr. President.
Huh? What is accurate?
The numbers that we are showing are accurate.
No, not about early in the morning, Ryan, when the woman took, when the whole gang took the stuff out from under the table, right? Do you know who these ballots, who they were made out to? Do you know who they were voting for?
No, not specifically.
Did you ever check?
We do what I described to you earlier.
No. Did you ever check the ballots that were scanned by a known political operative and balloteer? Did you ever check who these votes were for?
We looked into that situation that you described.
No, they were 100% for Biden. 100%. There wasn't a Trump vote in the whole group. Why don't you want to find this, Ryan? What's wrong with you? I heard your lawyer is very difficult, actually, but I'm sure you're a good lawyer. You have a nice last name. But I'm just curious, why do you keep fighting this thing? It just doesn't make sense. We're way over the 17,779, right? We're way over that number. And we're over that number by 5 or 6 times when you multiply that times 3. And every single ballot went to Biden. And you don't know that, but now you know it. So tell me, Brad, what are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this. And it's going to be very costly in many ways. And I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it. And you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers. For instance, I'm hearing Ryan that he's probably, I'm sure, a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know. But he's making them he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure because the answer is they all went to Biden. And that alone wins us the election by a lot. So... No, why do you say that? I don't know. I mean, sure, we can play this game with the courts, but why do you say that? Hey, first of all, they don't even assign us a judge. But why wouldn't you? Hey, Brad, why wouldn't you want to check out? And why wouldn't you want to say, hey, if in fact President Trump is right about that, then he wins the state of Georgia? Just that one incident alone, without going through hundreds of thousands of dropped ballots, you just say, you stick by. I mean, I've been watching you, you don't care about anything. Your numbers are right, but your numbers aren't right. They're really wrong, and they're really wrong, Brad. And I know this phone call is going nowhere other than ultimately, look, ultimately I win, okay? Because you guys are so wrong. And you treated me this. You treated the population of Georgia so badly. Between you and your governor, who was down at 21, he was down 21 points and like a schmuck. I endorsed him and he got elected. But I will tell you, he is a disaster. And he knows. I can't imagine that people are so angry in Georgia. I can't believe he's ever getting elected again. I'll tell you that much right now. But why wouldn't you want to find the right answer, Brad, instead of keeping saying that the numbers are right? Because those numbers are so wrong. No, we do have a way, but I don't want to get into it. We found a way in other states, excuse me, but we don't need it because we're only down 11,000 votes. So we don't even need it. I personally think they're corrupt as hell, but we don't even need that because all we have to do, Cleta, is to find 11,000 plus votes. So we don't need that. I'm not looking to shake up the whole world. We won Georgia easily. We won it by hundreds of thousands of votes. But if you go by basic simple numbers, we won it easily. So we're not giving Dominion a pass on the record. We don't need Dominion because we have so many other votes that we don't need to prove it any more than we already have. Well, you have to. Well, under the law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results, okay? You're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result, and honestly, this should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow because you have a big election coming up and because of what you've done to the president. You know, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote, and a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president, okay? They hate it, and they're going to vote. And you would be respected, really respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday, and therefore I think that it is really important that you meet tomorrow and work out on those numbers, because I know, Brad, that if you think we're right, I think you're going to say, and I'm not looking to blame anybody, I'm just saying, under new counts and new views of the election results, we won the election. It's very simple. We won the election. And the governors of major states and the surrounding states said there's no way you lost Georgia, and the Georgia politicians say there is no way you lost Georgia. Nobody. Everyone knows I won it by hundreds of thousands of votes, but I'll tell you, it's going to have a big impact on Tuesday if you guys don't get this thing straightened out fast. Well, why don't my lawyers show you where you got the information? It will show the Secretary of State, and you don't even have to look at any names. We don't want names. We don't care, but we got that information from you. And is laughing about you, knowing she's going around saying these guys are dumber than a rock. What she's done to this party is unbelievable, I tell you. And I only ran against her once, and that was with a guy named Brian Kemp, and I beat her. And if I didn't run, Brian wouldn't have even had a shot, either in the general or in the primary. He was dead as a doornail. He never thought he had a shot at either one of them. What a schmuck I was, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. I would like you, for the attorneys, I'd like you to perhaps meet with Ryan, ideally tomorrow, because I think we should just come to a resolution of this before the election. Otherwise, you're going to have people just not voting. They don't want to vote. They hate the state. They hate the governor, and they hate the Secretary of State. I will tell you that now. The only people like you are people that will never vote for you. You know that, Brad, right? They like you. They can't believe what they found. They want people like you. So look, can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple. And everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. It's okay. It takes a little while, but let the truth come out. And the real truth is, I won by 400,000 votes, at least. That's the real truth. But we don't need 400,000. We need less than 2,000 votes. And are you guys going to be able to meet tomorrow, Ryan? Okay. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Bye. And scene.